All right, let's get these pitches out. Oh shit, but I gotta post Instagram. What am I gonna post next week? And I still have to do this website. But I should probably finish this project first. When's that due again? Sound familiar? Yeah. Let's talk about it. What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Growth Journal. So every week on this channel, I talk about the wins, I talk about the challenges, and most importantly, I talk about the lessons that I'm learning as a creative entrepreneur. And my mission with this series and this channel is to inspire, motivate, and educate you guys in some way. I think there's so much to deal with as an entrepreneur. Like, there's a lot of uncharted territory. Naturally, as an entrepreneur, you have to adapt, you control your own destiny. There's so many things to learn about finances, marketing, systems, relationships. So basically I try to unpack all of that with you guys on this channel. I try to level with you too. If you're an entrepreneur, I'm sure you feel a lot of the same things that I feel, and I think a lot of people don't talk about that stuff. So that's what I'm trying to do on here, and I appreciate all of you guys tuning in. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here before, then welcome back. But yeah, as you can see right now, I am in this forest. I like to do my videos out in the outdoors. It's just a reason to get outside. But there was a lot on my mind this past week, and I always find that getting outside is the best way to clear my head. So yeah, this is me doing that. And there's actually a family of deer behind me. You probably can't catch them in frame. At one point there was one right behind me. Yeah, it's nice and peaceful out here. I find my mind kind of slows down. It's easier to kind of just sit with my thoughts and ideate. So that's why I love being out here, and I think it's always the perfect setting for these videos. So yeah, hope you guys are vibing with it. But anyways, let's talk about mental overload and, most importantly, systems, because I think one of the things that I've discovered about myself is that I put a lot of stress on my brain. I expect a lot from myself, and I also tend to be hard on myself when I don't meet certain expectations. It could be as simple as like setting out a task for the day and not feeling like I accomplished that task, and then kind of beating myself up for it. One of the things that I've also been dealing with this past week is feeling like there's just so much to do and there's so much uncertainty that I find myself falling into the trap of not knowing where to start with things. And I think what it really comes down to are the systems or lack of systems that I have in place that don't allow me to make decisions easier, to make workflows easier, and to ultimately take stress off my brain. So that's what I want to talk about this week, because I started reading a really good book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm sure you've heard of that one. It is super popular, but I started that this week, and I've taken some really good takeaways already from that book, but I've also started implementing new systems and testing new systems that I can already tell are making a big difference, and I want to share that with you. Plus, I also want to share some of the systems that I already have in place that have been working for me for a couple of years now. So I think I want to start this by diving into one of the key lessons that I've learned from the book already, which is to focus on systems instead of goals. And in last week's video, I actually spoke about how it's important to set clear goals in terms of like staying motivated, like once you know what you're doing, it's easier to stay motivated and on track. But after reading this, it's really enlightened me on the importance of systems in order to increase your productivity and to reduce your kind of like mental overload. So there are 4 key points that James Clear mentions in the book pertaining to this idea of systems over goals, and I want to share those with you today because they were really eye-opening to me. The first one was that winners and losers have the same goals. I think my biggest takeaway with this point is that goals a lot of the time aren't actionable, they're kind of just like something you want to achieve, whereas a system is something that's a lot more actionable, something that you can implement into your business, into your creative process to actually help move the needle, to help move things forward. Like somebody who is very unsuccessful could still have the goal of making 100K, but they might not get there because they don't have systems in place that will get them there. So for example, automating systems and processes in your business in order to speed things up, having like a really dialed in kind of morning routine, something that puts you in the proper headspace, things like that will help contribute to achieving that end goal. But it's like if you put your focus more on the system and tightening up things that aren't working well, then that is what's going to ultimately remove stress and improve efficiency and productivity, and that in turn will help you achieve the goal. And the second thing that he said is that achieving a goal is only momentary, whereas systems sustain success. I thought this was really important too, because again, like a lot of the times we establish goals, we accomplish that goal, and then it's like, okay, what next? Whereas if you implement different systems and habits and try to improve over a long period of time, it'll only sustain your success and your achievements because you're just developing good habits. And then the third point that he mentioned is that goals actually restrict your happiness by creating an either or conflict. So I've been experiencing this kind of stress within myself where like if I don't accomplish the goal that I've set out to accomplish, I just feel like a failure, or I feel like I just didn't use my time wisely, which is exactly what he's speaking about in this point. What he's saying instead is that you should actually just start to establish better systems, establish better habits that can work for you long term, and just continue again to sustain your mental health, your success. So I thought that was a really important point and something that I'm definitely going to take going forward. And then the fourth thing that he mentioned is the purpose of goals is to win the game, whereas the purpose of systems is to keep playing the game. So yeah, those are kind of like really good points that I took away from the book. Again, I kind of just started reading this thing, but it's already kind of got my mind thinking in different ways. And on the topic of systems and wins, I wanted to share some of the things that I'm trying this week in order to optimize my efforts and reduce stress. So the first thing that I've really been looking into, especially this past week, is AI. I'm sure you've heard that word a lot lately. There's just so many incredible softwares out there that can really help streamline things. So one thing that I have been testing this past week is a software called Claude AI. It's pretty similar to ChatGPT, but what I've actually been using it for is to be more of like my thinking partner when it comes to creating content ideas, when it comes to business strategy. So for example, I've created an AI persona in Claude. I've asked it to act as a professional marketer and personal branding expert. And yeah, anytime I have an idea for content, anytime I need help with writing a script or anything like that, I just basically run it through Claude, and I've basically assigned like its role and how it should respond and the certain outputs that I'm looking for. So even just something simple like that has been really helpful in helping me clarify my thoughts. And another one that has been a new favorite for me is called Fathom AI, which is a AI note taker. So let's say I have like a mentoring call. Basically Fathom AI, what it'll do is it'll jump into that call, it'll work in the background, it'll take notes on the call, and then after the call, it'll consolidate all of the key points that we spoke about in the call into a document, and it also provide a video recording as well. So super powerful. It allows me to be a lot more present on the calls. It also removes that kind of stress of having to consolidate all the notes after the call or during. So that just gives me a bit of my time back. Just constantly looking into more tools like this that can help alleviate some of the stress that I put on my brain, but also just really improve the efficiency of my business and my workflow. So another thing that I've done this week that has been super helpful has actually been creating individual folders on my phone for the purposes of creating content. And what I mean by that is, for example, I will create a folder that says visual hooks. Anything that looks like a visual hook that I can use for the first 3 seconds of a video, I've created a folder for that. There's a folder for travel, there's a folder for friends, there's a folder for bloopers. And the reason this is helpful is because when it comes to creating content on my phone, it's so much easier now to go back into my Photos app and to just pull from different folders instead of having to scroll through my entire Photos app. So again, a really small change, but I think this is going to make a huge difference when it comes to just creating content and optimizing my time. And then the third one is a system that I have been using for a long time, but something that has really made a difference in my business is I use a platform called Milanote to basically organize my life and business. I'll throw a few kind of like screen recordings up now so you can see how I structure things, but it allows me to organize all my thoughts and all my business assets and all my ideas into one space so I don't have to go into all these different places to find things. I know there's a bunch of softwares out there like Notion, ClickUp, Asana, different stuff like that for kind of project management, but what I love so much about Milanote is that it's kind of just like a blank canvas and you can organize the space however your brain works. But you'll see that I have things like business assets where I have branding documents, I have color swatches, I have personal bios, all that type of stuff lives in there. I have things like personal trips. So any trips that Colleen and I are going on, or trips with friends, like sometimes we plan the trips in Milanote too, which is good. And they can kind of live in their own little board. I have just marketing ideas, things that I'm thinking about for the brand. I basically plan a lot of my YouTube videos in Milanote as well. Personal projects. So anytime I have an idea for a film or some sort of photo series, like that lives in Milanote. But it's just really cool because you can do all those things and you can just organize it all in one place. And I've just found that this system alone has been really helpful for my business. So I figured I would share. If you've never heard of Milanote, I definitely recommend checking it out because yeah, it's an absolute game changer. Okay, and another thing I wanted to share is that a system doesn't necessarily need to be like a software or a tool that you implement, but support systems are a real thing, you know, like the relationships and the people that you have in your life, I think are really important for your emotional stability, your mental health, and your just overall fulfillment. And one of the things that I wanted to shine light on this week is that Colleen has been a huge help in just kind of keeping me in check, picking me up when I feel down. And yeah, she's been a great support system. I have a great group of friends that I can just call up and lean on whenever things just feel like they're not going my way. And yeah, that's just a reminder that like having like-minded people in your life is perhaps one of the most important things you can do for your own well-being, for your business, for your creativity. So wanted to share that. And one more win that I wanted to share from this week is that the podcast that I mentioned in a previous video is now live. If you want to check that out, you can click the link in the description below. So yeah, if you want to learn a little bit more about me, then check that out. And I hope you guys get some value out of that conversation. Okay, so now I want to give you guys something to ponder. I do this every week. I give you a question to end off the video. And since we've been talking about systems for the majority of this video, I wanted to keep this question in line with that. Think about your business or your creative processes that you have right now that consume a lot of time and energy. And my question for you is, what system can you implement to make things easier or more efficient? Yeah. Think about that and let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you have been struggling with. If you need to kind of go back and forth on this, or you want a second opinion on some systems that you can implement or things that you can change, then don't hesitate to reach out. I always look forward to chatting about this stuff with you guys. I hope you guys got a ton of value out of this video. And yeah, I'm looking forward to catching you in the next one. Peace.